Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, we're going to go into, how can I put this, today's episode? Because this young lady has such a remarkable story that I have to do justice to the story. Imagine what it's like to have illnesses that result in the impairment of a part of your body, mainly speech. And we take that for granted because our voice is powerful. And it took something like this to help this young lady realize that the loss of her voice resulted in something much more powerful. I'd like to welcome to the show. And I'm going to see can I pronounce this name right, because she's the only one with this name. If you know somebody else, make sure you DM her, not me. Thresette Briggs to the show. Did I get it right?
You did. Thank you, Andre The Beast. Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Your story is remarkable. Before we get into that story, give the viewers a little bit about you, a little woman, little girl coming out of Wichita, Kansas. Because trust me, nobody says come to Wichita for vacation. What's that like for you growing up in Wichita?
Well, again, thank you, Andre The Beast. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to see everyone. Coming from Wichita, Kansas is kind of interesting because I moved from Wichita, Kansas, actually as an adult.
Okay.
I first went to Oklahoma.
I love Oklahoma.
For an opportunity, because Wichita is not a bad city. Mm-hmm. It's just there wasn't an opportunity for me at the time. So I went to Oklahoma first for an employer, and then that employer moved me to Indiana.
When you said opportunities in Wichita, because like we shared earlier, you don't hear commercials saying come to Wichita. When I hear Wichita, I think about movies like Tombstones and Cowboys and Guns, but clearly that's a myth. But growing up for you as a woman of color in a geographical location that a lot of us don't know about, what was that like for you, especially when you mentioned opportunities?
Well, and like we were discussing earlier, actually the diverse population in Wichita, Kansas is very similar to the diversity population everywhere. And as we know, diversity is beyond race.
Right.
Speaking specifically about race, diversity is about the same percentage as everywhere else.
Really?
Growing up there, though, I certainly encountered enough circumstances that were diversity related or race related. So,
what do you mean? Enlighten the viewers. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, certainly back in the time I grew up there were some things going on in all cities that were of that nature. And so I experienced enough of those in Wichita, Kansas. And as I got through college at Wichita State University and then started trying to figure out opportunities and what I was going to do with my life, the opportunities in Wichita were just not there. And that's not necessarily because of diversity issues. It was a combination of diversity issues and other things that meant that there was no opportunity for me there. Mm-hmm. See, out of high school, I did not go directly into college. I went into the aircraft industry, and that's the aviation industry is the industry in Wichita, Kansas. It's called Air Capital City, and it's a joke for some of us who live or from Wichita because you can't really get a direct flight in there from anywhere.
Who are some of the airline people? You're talking about like manufacturing, like Boeing?
Oh, yes. Boeing was there, which is now, I believe, McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah.
Beach, which is now Raytheon. There was Cessna, which is a place I worked. There was Learjet. There was all of those. And there's also McConnell Air Force Base. So don't discount Wichita. It's got a lot going on. And as I shared, it's the largest city in Kansas when most people think it's Kansas City. Kansas City is not very large. It's the Kansas City, Missouri side that makes it large. So coming out of Wichita, it wasn't so much that I wanted to get away from Wichita. Mm-hmm. It was because again, issues like that are everywhere. Issues around diversity are everywhere, and things that we need to do and work on are everywhere. I left because there just wasn't an opportunity for me at the time.
What opportunities were you looking for? Because you stressed that repetitively.
Yes.
Opportunity. What opportunities were you looking for, and why that particular opportunity?
Yes. I was looking for opportunities in the human resource, organizational development, organizational transformation, organizational effectiveness arena. And at that particular time, there wasn't an opportunity for me there to go into that would pay the bills. Now, mind you, I had a child out of high school, and I went directly into the workforce, and I went back to college, and then I started looking for opportunities after getting out of college. So the opportunities I'm talking about were in the major that I went into, which was human resources, organizational development, etc. So those opportunities did not exist necessarily at that time after I'd finished an internship that I had gotten, fortunately.
How did you manage to,
Kansas.
Go back a minute, how did you manage to navigate your life with having a kid during the high school time?
So
You must have had a pretty strong family connect, because from what I'm hearing right now, everything is still going smoothly. So how tight was your family, and how did you manage having a kid?
Well, the whole story includes my son. I had a son out of high school. I did not want to go to college right out of high school. I didn't have the mentality and the mindset to do that.
Okay.
I had a child. I needed to pay the bills. We had to eat. So I got a job at the aircraft factory. What I learned at that aircraft factory taught me that if I wanted to do something else that was going to have an impact and make a difference, I had to take a different path.
Okay.
And what I saw at that aircraft factory were some things that were, I believe unfair. And I won't say the aircraft industry because I don't want to get sued or anything.
Right, but what things were unfair? Was it unfair because you were female? Was it unfair because you were a woman of color? Was it unfair because you was in a industry that basically was probably more male dominated in the good old boy system?
I think it was a combination of the three. I don't know the exact reason. It's just that that's what I perceived it to be. That's what it felt like. And so I wasn't going to have the opportunities there that I needed to make a good life for my son and I. So I decided after 2 years working at the aircraft factory, I needed to go back to college. And so I went back to college. Now, the time I was in college, it took me 7 years to get through college with a son because I worked 2 jobs most of the time, and I was trying to go to school. Mm-hmm. So trying to get through college and have a son was hard. Took 7 years. When I did get through, though, I got the opportunities that I was looking for outside of Wichita, Kansas. And so I had to move.
What was the first opportunity that you got?
The first opportunity I got was with a company in Muskogee, Oklahoma.
I know where that is, but keep going.
Now, it's amazing you don't know much about Wichita, but you know about
Well, I like the Oklahoma Sooners, man.
So that opportunity there, I was the first person in that director role I was in that place, in that facility. And that facility moved me after about 18 months in a lateral move to Indianapolis, Indiana area.
Probably the greatest move you've ever done when you think about it, huh?
Well, it actually was a designed move because when I went to Muskogee and we talked about the opportunity, I said, how long do I need to be here? Right. And they said about 18 months. So you was ready to leave. I didn't plan to stay there. It's a nice city, nice folks. I did not plan to stay there. So when I got there, I asked them that, and it turned out to be about 18 months that I was moved here, the lateral move. And the opportunities I found outside of Indianapolis were not as good as the one here, and then life changed, and so I ended up staying here.
Okay, life changed for the better, but
yes.
Along that path, we had an unfortunate accident with medical situations. Explain that and how it affected your life and changed a complete trajectory of your life to where it is now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and one of the things I definitely, I have a book for you, actually. The book shares my story.
Where's the book?
I have a chapter here in this book with several other women authors. This is the book. It is called Sacred Promise. And this book outlines the sacred promise that many women made to themselves and how they wanted to put that sacred promise out into the world. And my promise to myself was to use my voice as it was intended. So here's the voice story. I was in corporate America after coming here, after doing a lot of different things. I got opportunities in corporate America, and I began to get promoted in different opportunities throughout different companies. About 14 years ago, before I started my business, I'd say it's about 16 maybe now, I was in corporate America still. And in corporate America, for some reason, and maybe it's Indiana, I don't know, maybe it's the weather here, but about 16 years ago, I started having some problems with my voice. I started not being able to talk well. I started having a lot of coughing, a lot of issues, a lot of problems. And over about a year and a half, after many treatments and trials, it was going away. So I began to go to a dark place where I felt like I was going to have to find a living without my voice.
You went through different treatments. What did the doctors, what was the hypothesis going to different doctors? What were they telling you it could be?
They were telling me it could be asthma, and it was not going away. No matter what they did, no matter how they tried to treat it, it did not go away. So I began to think that whatever it was and what was happening, I was going to lose my physical voice. So I began to think about what I would do. Now, during that time, I had been to the emergency room probably 4 times. The last time I was in the emergency room, I prayed. Now, I prayed every time I went there. This prayer, though, was different. I said, because, and this is a little bit into the story in the book, I asked God to give me my voice back. And if he gave it to me, I would use it for him.
Really?
So, yeah, for the faith-based people out there, you know how it goes. When you say something to God like that, he can do it for you. And if you say, I'm going to do something, you promise him something, and he decides to help you, then you better do what you said you're going to do.
On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your voice loss at that point? Before you said the prayer, was you at a 9, at a 10?
I would say I was at about 6 or 7.
But you knew it was, you had confirmed from doctors, voice doctors, medical treatment, that you was going to lose your voice.
It was, yes, it had been confirmed that my voice was going, and that I was going to lose it at some point if it didn't clear itself up.
What were some of the things you was thinking about? You said, I had to start thinking about how to do my life. You got a son.
Yes.
Married. What's going through your mind now before you even put that out into the universe?
Before all of that happened, I have to say I got remarried, and I have 2 additional
Okay, congratulations on that.
Kids who are part of the blended family, so I have 3 kids total, and a wonderful husband. What I started thinking about was, what can you do without your voice? How do you learn sign language? How do you learn to talk to people without an actual voice? And so that led me to depression, thinking about what I would do, and grieving a loss of something that I felt was really important to me. Here's the reason why all that is important. In my career, that was an identity for me, my voice. I was always told it was a nice voice, it was this, it was that. We need Thresette to speak, we need this. And I just kind of took that for granted. When you are about to lose something, though,
it wakes you up, don't it?
It wakes you up, and you start thinking about it differently. And so as I went through that journey of almost losing my voice, and then eventually getting it back, thankfully, I realized that what I'd done in corporate America, a lot of great things and a lot of great opportunities, met a lot of great people. I do not feel like I was using my voice as I should have to help people in the most powerful way. And so I began to think about how to use it differently. And that led me on a journey to start a business, to do things differently, to find my spiritual gifts and my professional strengths, and determine how I would use that so that it is meaningful and purposeful in a way that leaves a legacy for my family. My mom and dad are both gone. I want to leave a legacy for them, and I also want to leave a legacy for my children and all the people that count on me, my whole family.
You mentioned something let's go back a minute. You mentioned your voice at the time was a voice that people recognized, that people paid attention to. But now you're saying there's a whole different focus with your voice. What was your voice? What was the message that you was given to the employees at that time versus the new awakening that your voice is delivering currently?
That's a great question. The voice I was using at that time was a balance between employer, employee, and trying to help them both thrive. And so I felt after I started going through this that I was probably using my voice more for the company.
That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say that, right?
I don't know if you want to call them the little people,
right.
Or the people who didn't have a voice for whatever reason. Somebody didn't listen to them. They weren't feeling heard. They didn't have a physical voice. Whatever the reason, that was the group. That was the people I wanted to help use their voice more powerfully so that it could balance what the employer needed, also what they needed. So I felt like it was a little bit lopsided.
Now that you look at it,
it was probably I'd say about 70-30. 70 for the employer, 30% for the employees. And I felt like I needed to do that differently.
Now that you're looking back, what were some impactful moments? Because usually when things like that happen in the spiritual journey of surrenderance, we have a tendency to look back at maybe one or two moments that you had your voice and somebody that you work with had something of importance. And maybe you could have done something different. Do you have those reflections now that you've been amplified to a different level?
I absolutely do. And here's the biggest reason my voice was important to me. Not only for employers and employees in balancing their needs, it was about, I did have a son right out of high school. I had to learn how to advocate for myself and my son as a single mother. Like many other single mothers out there, we have to learn how to advocate for ourselves. We also have to learn how to advocate for ourselves as women business owners, which I am one. We have to advocate for ourselves as diverse people, as people who feel potentially marginalized or something else. And we have to advocate for ourselves, period. Everybody needs to be able to do that. I focused on the people I could advocate for. And so my son and my family, and me being in the role I played in my family as a person who advocated and helped and was, one who helped things in the family to happen, I had to have a voice to be able to do that and advocate in a way that was helpful. And so that was at the center of all of that. The ability to advocate in corporate America for employees and employer and balance that is a result of my family upbringing and what I learned and how I learned to advocate for my son and my family. And I needed to continue to use that in whatever setting I was in.
You mentioned the power of the voice in the workplace. You mentioned the power of your voice as it pertains a female in the workplace and in general at all. With that said, now that you're looking back, what's missing? What's missing in the workplace now?
Well,
since you realize the voice is a precious thing to waste, so you have to be going like, what can you do to change the focal? Because these are people in the workplace. This is who they got to be accountable to. But if they can't speak my language or understand it, then what's missing here, based on your experience?
Exactly. Another great question. What I identified as missing Andre the Beast is that the employees and employers don't always understand where the matches are and what both need to do to make that culture effective and to both use their voices as effectively as possible. And so that's where I come in with building high-performing leaders for individuals, for that being individuals and organizations as a whole, so both can do that effectively and match that together and thrive and be more high-performing. So that's what I identified as missing. The employer needs one thing, employee needs one thing. Where's the gap in what's missing? How do we align that and make sure that we all are thriving? So that's what I've learned. The other thing I've learned, and this is what has been most powerful to help me do the things that I do now, is that I need to position myself in places to do that most powerfully. And that's why I do some of the things I do now. I've gotten a lot of blessings and a lot of opportunities. There were a lot of struggles when I was a single mother and when I was going through different trials in my life, like many people have, I'm sure. I think what helped me overcome those challenges is to position myself in the right communities of people who would help me do that well, to use those gifts and strengths effectively. So I get to sit on a national board, the National Association of Women Business Owners. It is a voice of over 14 million women business owners. We're the go-to for advocating for women businesses to level that playing field. And we helped to get an act, it's called HR 5050, passed so that women could get their own loans for businesses, can have a business without having to ask their husbands or their 17-year-old son in one case to sign for them. So we do things like that, and we still advocate to this day. And in fact, next year we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. So I'm honored to serve on that national board. I also get the opportunity to serve in other organizations like the Great Lakes Women's Business Council, to advocate on the advisory council for women business owners and helping them in whatever ways I can, and designing programming and things that they need and tools and resources to help them. I get to mentor entrepreneurs in Notre Dame South Bend Entrepreneurship and Adversity Program and do keynotes for their graduation. I get to do several other things in the community. And one other thing I think that's notable is that I'm able to use that voice and my learning and what I've overcome to help serve as a committee chair for the YMCA of Greater Indianapolis Diversity, Inclusion, and Global Committee. So all those things I'm honored to do, and I really appreciate and feel blessed to be able to do them. I would not have been able to do them had I not went through that journey with my voice. And it took me on a journey of realizing, don't take it for granted. When God gives you something that people recognize, that people believe is something that's good, don't overlook it. Don't diminish it.
Wasted talent.
Don't waste it.
Yeah.
Use it and nurture it in the most powerful, way you can for others who need it.
So you get your voice back. You get your voice back. Did they ever give you a diagnosis on why it was going away?
They did.
What was it?
It was because my vocal cords were so inflamed and so tortured for years of not being treated that I could not get air in and out. And you need your vocal cords, and you need air to be able to talk and breathe and do those types of things. And your voice changes.
And how long did it take them to give you that?
When that happens.
How long did it take them to come up with that conclusion?
I went to an asthma and allergy care specialist. They identified that I had about 60 or so allergies that had not been treated. They got me on a regimen, medical regimen, as well as sent me to speech therapy. And it took about a year to get my voice fully back. And that journey during that year was one of the most powerful journeys I've been on in my life. It transformed me. It helped me to get closer to God. It helped me realize what God put me on this earth to do. And it helped me to realize where I was supposed to do it. So,
you wrote a book. When did the book start to surface in your journey? Like, what was the pivotal point? Was it when the voice came back? Was it before the voice? When did the idea of putting all that into that book come about?
Well, the idea of the book came probably about 11 years ago. It didn't materialize until 2022. And I had an opportunity to work with several other authors, and Dr. Tara Wright Trent, who is a international speaker, guru, and he's also a soror in the sorority that I'm in. Delta Sigma Theta, Sorority Incorporated. Got to give a shout out. So the book came in 2022 and I had the opportunity to have the right platform to get it out. Because writing a book and writing a story, sometimes it's very difficult because you have to go to some deep parts of yourself. And sometimes you don't want to share those with the world. And once you put that out there, it's out there. So that process helped me.
Let's hold that
get
thought.
the story out.
Let's hold that thought. Before we tell how to get this book, what was two pivotal dark areas that you had to come to grips with that's in the book?
The darkest area was realizing that I might not have a physical voice and what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the second, I don't believe, I know, the second darkest and most pivotal area, because with darkness, there then comes light.
Right.
The most pivotal area was realizing that God is in control, not me.
Okay.
And I had to make sure that I was aligned with His purpose for my life.
When the book started to surface, how did that make you feel as you was writing? How much of your life is actually in this book? On a scale of percentage, like how much of it is 100% you?
Oh gosh, all of the chapter, and it's only about 5,000 words because there's several other authors in the book.
Okay.
It's a compilation. You have to focus on the real key parts you want to give. So I would say only about 40% of my story is there. And so I'm looking forward to putting my whole story into another book.
You also went on another journey with Performance 3. Did I get it right?
You did, yes.
What was the reason for Performance 3? And it's a two-part question. What was the reason for it? And why is there a need for it? Basically, why is there a need for Performance 3 and you creating it?
Yes. Well, the reason for it is, as I went through that voice journey in corporate America, here's one piece of the story that we haven't talked about. My dad was an entrepreneur. Wichita, Kansas, yes, he was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Before he became an entrepreneur, he was working in one of those aircraft factories for 12 years, and then he was able to launch his business full time. I always wanted to be one. I was just fearful of being an entrepreneur about what that meant. And so...
What did you think it meant at the time?
I thought it meant, you had your own schedule, you did your own thing.
Right.
You just, sat back and got money. And that was as a child,
Right.
thinking about that because my sister and brother and I worked with him on in the summers sometimes. And so it seemed like something that was really fun. And I saw him start living his dream and become more passionate about what he did when he started his business. So that's what I thought it meant. Now, as I became an entrepreneur, I realized it was hard.
Yeah.
And it's not for the faint of heart. Right. And I almost quit 2 years in.
Why?
Because it was hard.
Like what were some of the hard parts about the entrepreneurship drive?
Selling.
Okay.
Figuring out how to sell in a way that's comfortable for you. Because I had kind of equated selling with something that wasn't so positive. And you start thinking about pushy salespeople and people like that. And you want to sell. You got to sell to eat. I didn't want to identify as that so much. If a person is a pushy salesperson, that works for them. God bless them. And it just wasn't me. So I had to figure out how to do that. So that was hard. The sales part was hard. And just the business development, just trying to figure out where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, who you're supposed to connect with, where you're supposed to spend your time. All that was hard. And so it was a journey of figuring all that out. Instead of quitting, I talked to people.
Okay.
I talked to people and got their real stories. People you think are rocking it out, they've had a story too.
Right.
They've had a journey. And when they tell you that journey, typically, it is wrought with
all kind of trials and tribulations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Risks, everything, failures. And when they tell you the story, it inspires you. And that's what happened for me. the people that I thought were rocking it out and it was just going like this, it was actually going like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I could do this. I just needed to get focused, and as I said earlier, be in the right communities, right places. And I got into the organizations and places that I'm in now.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been a large part of my journey.
So what exactly is Performance 3, and what do you guys do with individuals that come to you?
Performance 3 is a national leadership development firm. And what we do is we build high-performing leaders. We build them because we believe that every leader can be with the right culture and the right opportunity. And as I shared earlier, we close that gap to high performance so everybody can thrive. What we do, how we do that is that's the why we do it. How we do that is that we do that through keynotes, we do it through assessments, training, facilitation, coaching, and consulting, through avenues and initiatives like leadership meetings, learning series, retreats, strategic planning, and anything else that is customized and makes sense for the people we're working with. And we get the opportunity to work with small businesses and small diverse companies as well.
Who is the ideal candidate? Because let's be real. I've just dealt with a situation where I can't give the company's name, but clearly there's too many chiefs trying to manage. How do you? Everybody's not qualified to be a leader. How do you do that assessment? I mean, everybody might want to be an entrepreneur, but like you said, do you really know the pitfalls? Are you equipped to understand the pitfalls? Can you recover from the pitfalls? Are you good with people? Are you good with race relations? Are you good with spirituality? How do you actually build a leader, and how do you know that that leader is the right person to go into that particular next level of performance?
Well, let me unpack some of the things you said, because you asked several questions within that one.
Mm-hmm.
When someone reaches out to Performance 3 and for the companies that we work with already, we sit down and have a conversation to do an analysis of where they are with their performance. What does success look like? What is actually happening? What's going on in the organization that you think needs to happen? We also talk about the willingness and the commitment of that organization to shift how they're doing things so they can truly get to where they need to be. So those questions can tell us a lot about whether or not that's a company that's ready to work with us. Mm-hmm. The kind of companies that are ideal for us and leaders that are ideal for us are leaders who really want to do something because they are either in pain and they need it to stop, they need to reduce it, or, it's a pleasure principle. They want to do more of what's working. Those who are in status quo or comfortable are not necessarily our ideal clients.
You mentioned pain. What's an ideal of pain?
They are going through some
emotional trauma?
Well, it could be that. And they are going, and sometimes I coach some people who are doing that. They're either in pain because their company is going through a transformation that's painful. They're losing money. They're bleeding money. They have a lot of employee issues. They have lawsuits. They have other types of challenges. I mean, just you name it. They're going through it. And so we work with companies through that, and we have backgrounds. We have the background in our team to do that. The pleasure piece is that they've identified something that they can do well, and they need to have the infrastructure and the momentum to keep doing it well. Mm-hmm. And so that it doesn't taper off or plateau when they least need that to happen. So those are the types of companies we typically work with, and those are the things that are typically happening when we work with them.
How rampant is companies right now struggling with what your company provides? Because like I just said, I'm dealing with that now, and I won't mention the company's name, but I think it's even at a higher level company, I didn't expect to see what I'm seeing. Have you seen this on a more global scale, that these issues and this reevaluations, this new training of leaders, is there a need for it in corporate America?
It's happening a lot more than you think. And often, unless a person or an organization is willing to admit that something can be continuously improved, they stay stuck.
Okay.
And so it is happening a lot more than you realize. The key is that people have to admit it's happening.
Right.
And do something about it. And those are the people that we work with. Sometimes I sit down with folks and they don't even know something is needed until we start having a conversation. It just might be an organic conversation with somebody I'm sitting at an event with. And as we talk about what we each do, they start saying, well, let me ask you about this, or let me ask you about this. And that's one of the ways that I sell. I just share what I do, and we talk about what their need is, and I do a lot of listening.
What are some of the things that you're hearing that is needed from people that you're sitting across the table with?
Strong leaders to do what is needed in companies right now. I mean, the pandemic identified a lot of things. And so I'm working with companies now on leadership development in the core areas of their need. And every company is different. The competencies they need their leaders to have. There's general competencies. There's also competencies within that organization that are necessary to build to make that company more effective based on what that company is trying to do and their strategic planning and their vision.
You mentioned during the pandemic. What happened during the pandemic with the switching of the loss of leaders? What happened during that?
Well, we were still, as you know, kind of on the heels of George Floyd, the unfortunate George Floyd situation as well. And so what was happening was that companies were trying to figure out how to be better leaders in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, there's a lot out there about that from advocates and critics alike, and we're not necessarily here to talk fully about that because that's a whole session, believe me. That was happening, and companies were trying to get stronger in that and do important work and help everybody know that they belonged at the company and could contribute effectively in what that looks like. So that was going on, and that's a background that I have in that space.
Why wasn't it recognized long before George Floyd? Because we had the Rodney King incident that was far global than this one. So you're saying that it took decades for people to realize this was an issue that needed to be addressed a long time ago?
Actually, it was recognized before that. And what I have seen, what I have observed, is unfortunate events like that have to happen for people to see what's necessary.
Okay.
And so there have been unfortunate issues in the past, like Rodney King and others, and that causes an upscale in that type of work. And then something happens. We know what's going on in society now. It causes society to shift how they're doing it. So it's continually needed, and it will always be needed. It just depends on on how society wants to treat it and the importance of it. It is always going to be important.
How can the viewers, and first of all, let me say thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey of in your book and the wonderful things you're doing for Indianapolis, Indiana. You're no longer in Wichita, Kansas. You're in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Shout out to Wichita. That's my hometown.
How can the viewers be a part of Performance 3? How can they get your book? How can they contact you, just individual, if they have? Because a lot of people don't have to be entrepreneurs to be a leader. Exactly. How can they reach out to you?
Yes. Everybody can reach out to me through my website, bestperformance3, that's the number 3.com, or you can join me on LinkedIn at Thresette Briggs, through Facebook, Performance 3, Best Performance 3, Instagram at Performance 3. So there's several ways to reach out to me, and those ways are all on my website, or one of the best ways I think is through my LinkedIn profile with my name, Thresette Briggs. And believe me, I'm the only Thresette you will find.
I'm going to put some money on that one. Leave the viewers with that beast mindset that you definitely have. To sit in a room and call out to your higher power to allow you another opportunity to speak, I'm going to allow you to basically close the Andre the Beast Crayton show out for the viewers. Take it away.
All right, Andre the Beast, thank you. That beast mindset. Well, here's what I'll say to you all as you think about what's your beast mindset. In a space that I know, it's what is high performance for you? How do you define that? Once you define that, you will know what you need to do. You will know what gifts and strengths you need to use, where you need to be, who you need to be talking with, and what you can do to help your purpose and legacy be meaningful, just like I've learned. So I would leave you with that. Happy to help you. Would love to connect with everybody. Thank you so much, Andre the Beast. I love that term. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.